Do you have a workers' compensation claim, and are you afraid that somebody is going to start following you or surveilling you? Well, we will be looking at this and other questions regarding injured worker surveillance cases right now. Welcome to the PI Guide channel. Tips, tricks, and advice for professional private investigators. My name is John Morris. I am a licensed professional private investigator. Now, I know many of you are going to be like, what the heck are you doing, John? Are you going to give away all of our top secret PI secrets? First off, if you are a surveillance investigator, well, I hate to be the one to inform you, but your top secret PI surveillance secrets probably are not all that secret. I see videos all the time from law firms and other legal professionals discussing the topic of private investigators doing surveillance. As well, a professional investigator should know the answers to these questions people ask all the time regarding their concerns about surveillance. So let's just jump right in. If you have a work-related injury, someone may start following you to obtain intel or information regarding your activities. The first question to tackle is, what is the purpose of surveillance? And how can surveillance video that is obtained be used? The simple answer is that surveillance is usually used to determine if the claimant is doing things outside their doctor's ordered restrictions. The surveillance investigator is trying to notate via video and observations the claimant's daily activities. Now keep in mind, the PI is not out there to try to get that video that proves the individual is not hurt or injured. Rather, the PI should be trying to document the claimant's activities and present the evidence as it is presented to them in the field. Another great question is, if you have a workers' comp claim, at what point would you expect somebody to start following you or conducting surveillance? And again, the simple answer is, well, it all depends on the insurance company and their policies, and it is often decided on a case-by-case basis. Suppose you have an injured worker that has shown no improvement after continued treatment. In that case, the insurance company may want to see what type of activities the injured worker is doing to see if they're doing something that hinders their improvement. Other red flags for insurance claims include claims where there were no witnesses or if the claim appears to be exaggerated. So if you have a claim as an injured worker and it is your first claim and there were credible witnesses that corroborate your claim, well, the chances of surveillance being conducted is pretty low. The next question is regarding personal safety. Is there a way you can identify if you are being followed by an investigator for workers' compensation, or is it someone who is stalking you or wanting to hurt you? This is a tough question to answer. You really need to look at your personal situation and assess the perceived threat levels. Are you going through any domestic issues, divorce, child custody, or something like that? If that is the case, your ex could have you under surveillance regarding those situations, or if you have had others threaten you in the past, those could be considerations for concern too. You should always take precautions based on what is going on in your life at the moment. You might consider calling the police and letting them know you think you are being followed by a suspicious vehicle. Now, regarding surveillance vehicles, is there some sort of giveaway to tell if a PI is conducting surveillance? Well, when it comes to vehicle types, the simple answer is no. Most PIs doing surveillance are going to be driving a low-profile, nondescript, plain Jane type of vehicle. I often refer to them as soccer mom types of cars, one that is going to look like any other vehicle in the street and just fit in. It is not like what you would see in the movies and on TV. PIs are not always out there in the white vans with loads of high-tech equipment sitting in the back. Now, if you have someone that is conducting surveillance on you, can you or should you confront them? Well, yes, you could confront them. It's not illegal if you do so. Trust me when I say I have been confronted many times during surveillance. But the question, should you confront them, is probably more relevant. If you're going to confront them, don't do it in a manner where it is confrontational. Just do something that gives them that warm, fuzzy feeling, like a quick smile and a wave, like saying, "Hey, I see you there." It does no good if you run up to their car and start cussing them out and yelling and screaming. Remember, they are probably filming all of this too. As well, what they are doing is not illegal either. They are just doing their job. And just giving them that little "hello, I see you there" wave and smile lets them know the gig is up. And in most cases, they will call it a day shortly after that. Once we get detected, once we are burned, well, we are pretty much done for the day. Now, That doesn't mean that we're not going to come back on another day. It is quite normal for a PI to switch vehicles and parking spots and even change investigators in these situations. Another great question is, if someone is following you and you don't want them to be following you, what would you recommend as the best way to deter surveillance? There are several things you could do from a standard counter-surveillance or anti-surveillance standpoint. The first is to drive around the block multiple times. This is a common trick used to throw off a surveillance investigator as it becomes quite apparent that the subject may be getting suspicious and you get the opportunity to see if they keep following you. Another strategy is to pull into a parking lot, then try to find a point where you can turn around and pass the subject vehicle and give them that friendly "Hello, I see you" wave as you drive by. Another trick is to pull over several times and see what they do. Or you could call the police or drive to a police station. Here is another great question. How long would a typical assignment be? Should a claimant who is under surveillance expect to be followed every single day of their claim? The length of the assignment is going to depend again on the insurance company. Most assignments are going to be 2 to 3 days in length. Now, when I say 2 to 3 days, I mean 16 to 24 hours. So a 24-hour case may be 3 8-hour days, 4 6-hour days, or 6 hours for 4 days, depending on the activity level. Sometimes insurance companies will first request what is called an activity check, where they authorize 4 to 6 hours to get a preliminary look to see if the case warrants further surveillance. Another question I get is it normal for a PI to follow a family member on these types of assignments? This would be very rare in most instances. There could be a case where they do not have an address for the claimant and want to see if a family member leads them to the subject, but it is a long shot and extremely rare. I did have a case where we couldn't find the claimant. He had listed the address where he lived with his wife and children. However, we also discovered they were going through a separation. So I set up surveillance on a Friday afternoon and followed the wife to a nearby school where she picked up the kids and then took them over to visit with him. From that point on, I had a good address to do surveillance. I had another viewer ask if PIs could put a tracking device on a vehicle in injured worker type cases. And the answer is no. It is illegal to put a tracker on anyone's car without their permission. Then there is the question regarding social media. Do PIs hack people's social media to see what they're doing as part of their surveillance? Well, hack it? No, that would be illegal too. But if someone's social media is open to the public for anyone to see, well, a PI can get a ton of information from that source. I once had a workers' comp case where the subject was kind enough to always check in at the gym on his Facebook account. So I knew he worked out frequently. I knew where he did these workouts and the days he went. So when he left around that same time, I could just relax and let him drive there and follow at a safe distance. That leads us to our next question. Do PIs follow you into gyms, grocery stores, and places like that? And the answer to that is yes, in most instances. If they go into any area considered to be a public area, then yes, a PI would usually follow them in. But I am cautious about gyms and places like that because those establishments often have users agreements and signs that forbid video recording. Going in and getting video in these situations would violate the subject's reasonable expectations of privacy. So as a PI, you must be cautious about where you follow them and what evidence you gather. Another question that often comes up is, are PIs held to any code of conduct or ethics rules? And in most states, there is licensing for PIs, and that licensing will usually have strict guidelines, rules, and laws they must follow. For the handful of states where there is no licensing, then the PI, if working for an attorney or insurance company, may be bound to the ethics and laws regarding those professions. Now you may be wondering, if the PI sees nothing while on surveillance, what do they do then? Well, I made this video right here that goes into detail about that very thing, so check it out now.